Hi everybody, Ben Franklin here again for you. Gonna show you how I've been making these masks. There's a million videos on it, so take what you want and leave the rest. But we start with two different rectangles. The front fabric is going to be 9.5 by 8. And what we're going to do is, your iron is your friend. Remember that through the whole thing, ironing is your friend. So we're going to fold it over 1/2 inch and then 1/2 inch again and iron it so that there's 3 layers of fabric, and that's going to make it a 7 by 9.5. And then we got our sort of filter comfort flannel fabric and our filter fabric, which are both 7 by 9.5. We're going to do a couple different things with this. One, we're going to start by just, we're going to make a pocket in the mask. And so for that, the top of the mask will need to be open. So what we're going to do is we're going to zigzag and then stitch along the top of this mask here to keep the top of the pocket on the inside from fraying. And then over here on this folded edge will keep that from happening on the front fabric. So if you don't have a stitch on your machine specifically for that, that's okay. What you do is you just zigzag over the edge. And then what you do is you just basically go right along the base of that that zigzag with a straight stitch. It doesn't have to be exact, but it does need to be, you know, somewhat close. It's just going to help out in the end. All right, and then we can remove that. Alright, cut all that off. Alright, now the next thing we're going to do is tricky. The reason why I folded this over is because I have some leftover Romex that we're going to flatten out. And we're going to sew it to the front of the mask for the purposes of bending around the wearer's nose. And I have this because I caught my house on fire and then decided to rewire the basement. But this is 12 gauge, 14 gauge would probably work as well. You want to center it over those 3 layers of fabric, and I'm going to sew it to the front. Now you could put it in the middle and then sew down here so that you kind of envelope it like this. That puts fewer layers of fabric between the wire and your face, so I prefer to sew it to the outside. But you do you. I will say, if you sew it to the outside, know your machine and know your confidence level. You're going to want your widest zigzag, and you're going to need to keep this wire exactly in the middle of your presser foot. Now, I have tested this before, so I know that my zigzag will be wide enough to do this. So I recommend that what you do is that you, when you first get started, work a couple stitches with just a hand wheel and see where that gets for you. Maybe you can do your forward and backwards to get it set. And you want to do a reasonably tight stitch on this because you don't want it exactly. It's not going to fight and come off, but you do want a reasonable amount of fabric holding it on. So about 2.5 on this old machine here, and go very slow and keep that wire exactly in the middle of your presser foot, and you will be fine. Believe it or not, it's a little nerve-wracking, but it works. Okay, and then when you're done, you can pull this out. Fumble with the threads, be sure you do that part, and then we'll cut these off too. And then because I need to vacuum, you just throw threads on the floor. Oh, missed one. So, and then what this does is you can push it and scrunch it around a little bit and recenter it. It doesn't have to be exactly centered. This is one I'll dress up later, but if you can see this, that's what you're going for if you do this. All right, so next what we're gonna do is we're gonna sew around the edges of our mask. Now we're gonna take these. Now you gotta put this first with the comfort side up, and then you gotta put this face down. On my next example I'll show you I messed that up, and we'll go over why, right? Because when you flip it inside out, this will be nice and looking right side up, and then this yellow fabric, which is a little softer, will be on the outside like what you want. This particular design allows for a 1/2 inch seam allowance. If you like 5/8, that's fine. The measurements were just easier for me with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. What we're going to do is we're just going to start. We're no longer going to be on zigzag. And then we're going to start in reverse to go through here. Alright. And then what we're going to do is keep going. Alright. And then that's about right. Right. Okay, and there is that. Now I intend for these to be used quite a bit, and I'm probably even, I was kind of weird shopping for them, but I bought some lingerie bags with the cords and everything and the wires. It should let you machine wash it on your most gentle cycle. I'll leave that risk up to you. I'm going to do it because I like having a washing machine. But we're going to trim this up and we're going to make it even. And I'm using barber scissors because that's what I have that's currently sharp. And then we're going to kind of go zigzag along the outside. We're going to trim the corners so it'll turn out better. And then we're going to go zigzag along the corners like we did with the top of the filter fabric. And that way when people are constantly taking out a heap of vacuum bags or coffee filters or more of this filter fabric or whatever it is they choose to use, it will not start to fray on the inside, which is that fraying is not good. Okay. There we go. Okay, and then we'll remove that. And what we have here now, if we flip it inside out, and you can use scissors or you can use extra Romex or whatever you got. By the way, if you go buy this wire and you're unfamiliar with this, Romex is, you want solid core. Stranded wire is not going to hold the form to your nose. You want something solid core wire. You can buy it at the hardware store. You can get more solid core wire at your auto parts store as well. Or if you have anything else that you can sew to it, it really does help. All right, so then you iron this flat, and then what we're going to do is we're going to basically iron it to where it's 3 inches tall by putting pleats in it, and then we're going to fold the insides in. Now I did this one backwards, but this is about 3 inches tall with 2 pleats, and then I sewed over inside. Now this is going to be hard to sew through, so what we may end up doing is decreasing a little bit of our pressure on our foot. If you have an old machine, that's what this is for. That's maximum pressure, that's minimum pressure. I'll probably go somewhere in the middle and see how that goes, but it's very important that you pleat it and then you fold over on the inside second. The reason is because your ties you can sew them in, or, and this is just 550 paracord, or you can push them through later, and if you fold in and then pleat, you will never be able to replace this cord without tearing the mask apart. So I also recommend, as you go down, go from the top of the mask to the bottom, and the reason that is because you'll be overlapping on these folds instead of having to fight over them and possibly getting your presser foot stuck underneath them on your way up. So let's, this sewing machine is like rated to sew through 2x4s, so we'll see how well this works. Put it back on a straight stitch. Alright, and then we are going to do that. Presser foot is down. We're going to start off in reverse. Oh no, alright. Oh, that's the wire. That's not good. Alright. Let's see if that'll work. There we go. Stitched over the wire, which will be good. Watch out for that. I'll probably end up trimming a little bit of that wire off. Afterwards, just to make sure that this doesn't happen. There we go. Oh, there we go. Alright. And if you have a hard time, it's a good idea to start with your needle down before you press on there, and then it'll go through. Sometimes it has a hard time like this when you start again with the needle up. And so you can just go like this, and now it should make it through. And then with the needle all the way up, looks like it skipped some stitches. So after the video, I'll go back and resew this a couple times, because it looked like when you have these thick fabrics, sometimes it's hard for the needle to go far enough down into the machine for the bottom thread to pick it up, but it looks like it got most of it. So I'll go back and afterwards, and I will redo this again, but just for demonstration purposes, we'll keep going. And if you don't sew these in like this, and you can put some stitches across this later to keep them from coming out if you want, up to you. But if you don't, keep some extra Romex around, because it'll help you fish these ties through. So yeah. Alright, so alright, and that's that. With the needle up, we will remove it, and again, I'll go back and touch up these side pieces later. But what this does is it'll seal around your face, and then this will expand and create that mask around here. And then you can also open this up and put something in here if you so choose. Now, let's talk about, a lot of people are donating these to first responders and families and friends and all that stuff. So, you know, if you launder them, and a lot of people say don't, but if you do, strongly recommend using something without any softeners or dyes or anything that could cause a laundry allergy, because, you know, a laundry allergy is not going to be as bad as COVID-19. But let's shoot for the moon and try to not have either one. So yeah, questions, comments, let me know, and I hope you find this helpful.